I'm overly excited about your session that we just had at the Bach Institute. And can you repeat to our audience, what is positive psychology? What does it actually mean?
I guess maybe 2-3 decades ago, everybody was studying things like helplessness, all sorts of problems. And then things started to turn around. I'm called the mother because back in the 70s, when people were focused on all these problems, I was doing research on well-being and longevity. So that was the early nursing home studies. Mm-hmm. So it's the content is positive rather than negative.
So can we talk shortly about the nursing study? What was it actually the purpose? Why did you do that and why this way?
Yeah, well, I went to a nursing home to visit somebody, and most of the people, or many of the people, were out in the hallway looking half dead, and had no life, and were not making any choices or doing anything meaningful. And I thought maybe their current lack of living was a function of them not giving any psychologial impetus to live.
Or lack of purpose.
Lack of purpose. Mm-hmm. And so, so all we did was take a group of people individually, and we gave them decisions to make, and we encouraged them to make decisions. We gave them a plan to take care of. We gave them decisions like, we're going to show a movie next week. Do you want to see it on Tuesday or Thursday? So these weren't monumental decisions. And the comparison group was just told they'd see it on Tuesday or Thursday. We gave them a plant and told them, take care of it as you would like. The comparison group was also given a plant, and they said, don't worry, the nurses will take care of it for you. Then we took a series of measures after the study was done and found that people were more alert and more active by making these mindful decisions. And then 18 months later, that's when the important results were found. People given these mindful choices to make were more likely to still be alive. And so that we replicated in several studies where we simply make people mindful, and the viewer needs to understand this mindfulness has nothing to do with meditation. This is just a process of actively noticing. And when you're actively noticing, the neurons are firing, and all of this research suggests that it's literally and figuratively enlivening.
I think you started a wave of many other researchers that have followed, and the same with the blue zones. I think there's certain people going around the world actually seeing how different people in different parts of the world are aging, and one of the biggest discoveries that they did was exactly that, to have purpose and also to have meaning and to have a choice.
And what people don't understand is that purpose doesn't have to be this big thing.
Yeah.
This is going to sound silly, but I tell my students, if you're ever stressed, depressed, lonely,
most of them.
Okay, at any moment, thread a needle. Just thread a needle. Because in the process of threading the needle, your total attention is not on you're being stressed, depressed, lonely, or anything else. It's on threading the needle. And you see, during that time, you weren't stressed, depressed, or lonely, which means it's under your control. What people need to understand is that emotions are choices. They require not just the physiological arousal, but an explanation for it. That, so let's say you're waiting for a date. You're young and it's a first date. You can see yourself as anxious. But the very same behavior can be understood as being excited. Very different. If you're excited, person comes, you want to welcome them with open arms. If you're anxious about it, it's not a good way to begin a relationship.
And then you make the choice how
exactly.
you feel.
So for all of our emotions, we have choices.
So can we make a choice not to age?
Well, it's interesting. No, I think the better choice would be not to worry so much about aging. I think many of our views are just ridiculous. We spend so much money on cosmetic surgery and wrinkle creams and all of this. You don't have nearly as much experience as I do. rather than saying, yay, you're younger because you have fewer wrinkles. I think experience is good.
Absolutely.
And, so, part of the problem in the counterclockwise study, so this was a study where we had people live as if they were 20 years younger. Now, at that point, because you listen to people, everybody thinks they want to be younger, but they really don't. What people want is to have the strength that you had 20 years ago. But you wouldn't want to give up the experience you've actually acquired. Absolutely. And so I think that if they really wanted to go back, the effects would have been even more phenomenal than they were.
No, it was amazing what you said, and we have to really see most of the clinics that are following up from testing how we can introduce your concept and your study into.
Well, it's to get people to get people to recognize that everything is mutable. And they don't realize this. It's hard in such a brief interview for me to make this clear to you, but everything that was at one point a decision. How tall the tree should be, the clothes that we're wearing, whether we should be on stage or not, everything was a decision. For it to be a decision means there was uncertainty. Because if there's no uncertainty, there's no decision. If there's uncertainty, it means that there are people who are deciding, well, who are these people? And so from the way I live my life, if something doesn't fit, I change it. No matter what it is, recognize that people decided. So when we recognize that we have much more control over our health and well-being than we realize, and we start acting accordingly, things fall into place, and then we're living happier lives. And if we're happier, I think we're going to end up healthier. But
the control is also in our head, isn't it? How much control we have.
Well, control over what?
Of anything.
No, I think we need to realize that we control our experience of things. But if we would recognize, this is going to be a long story, but it's kind of interesting, I think. So I know sometimes when I talk about everything is good, it all depends on how we frame it. And people say, you in the ivory tower, what do you know? So then I pull out a story or two. Well, it was several years ago that I was at a friend's house for dinner, and I came home, and this is in the middle of the winter. All of my neighbors were outside because my house had just gone up in smoke. I move into the Charles Hotel. It's now Christmas Eve. And I'm a sight to be seen because I have my two little dogs with me. And Christmas Eve, I go out. I come back to the room. The room is full of gifts. Not from the owner of the hotel, not from the management, but from the so-called little people, the people who parked my car, the waiters and waitresses, the chambermaids. It took over a year for me to be able to tell that story without it bringing tears to my eyes. Now, I don't remember anything except one thing that I lost in that fire. But every single Christmas, I have a renewed faith in people. So net, it was actually a positive experience. So, that if we look for the advantage, then, you're not so afraid of, what happens if you lose your job? Well, if you're valued at work, you're not going to lose your job. If you're not valued at work, maybe it's the best thing that could happen to you. 40 hours a week being miserable and feeling incompetent is terrible. And
this is so true. In terms of the counterclock study, we don't have to really do exactly what you did to put so much effort. But is it enough to, just dress differently or really bring? Sure. Even look at photographs from those times and go back to certain memories.
All we have to do, we don't even have to do anything about the past. All we need to do is ask ourselves, what makes you think you're not going to succeed? And what would be so terrible about not succeeding? What are the actual advantages? Nobody begins some task as an expert. And people mistakenly think they want to do whatever they're doing perfectly. So it's the struggle, it's the not knowing, it's the mastering, not having mastered that we really should be seeking. And so, don't rush so fast to want to be perfect. Another thing, and this is going to sound perhaps too hallmarking, not to put down hallmark, but I wrote a little song from my grandkids when they were younger. I'm not going to sing it, but I should, based on what the song is about. Anyway, I won't sing it.
You can sing.
No, I won't, because I can't sing, but that's the point. That is, everybody doesn't know something, everybody knows something else, everybody can't do something, everybody can do something else. And when you recognize that,
it's so
then
simple.
the not knowing is not a bad thing. As long as you know, I know these other things. And so then you learn, and then you're not so quick to
judge and to criticize yourself. I think very often we are our own the worst enemy and
There's no
our
question
own
about it. Yeah.
worst judge. And I think
and I think that what I was saying at the end of the talk about behavior makes sense from the actor's perspective, or else the actor wouldn't do it. That every time we're evaluating ourselves negatively, every time we're being mindless. I just keep saying, for people to recognize what you do makes sense, or else you wouldn't do it. So it's up to you to find when somebody attacks you, you say to me, Ellen, you're so damn gullible. Rather than say, oh my goodness, you're right, and feel bad, I say, well, let's see, why did I do this thing? Why did I act in this way that seems foolish? And that's because I'm trusting. And I like being trusting. So if you tell me I'm gullible, I'm going to say, that's because I'm trusting. And now you're going to think about it, and maybe you don't want me to stop being gullible.
this will be an interesting study also to see how trusting people actually, whether they are living longer or not, I think. Because you are trusting means that you are open to the world actually to come with more surprising things.
Exactly.
And learning new things.
That, to me, it doesn't, if we were together a longer time, you can decide where we're going to eat. You can decide if we're going to go to the theater. You can decide what movie we're. I don't care, because I'm going to be happy no matter what. And because there's always a way to understand whatever is happening in a positive way. And, then people say, oh, you're a cockeyed optimist. Well, to call me an optimist would mean that you know the truth. The truth is here, but I'm saying it this way, that the glass is half full, as well as being half empty. If you see it as half empty, then you spend your time worried about being thirsty.
So what are the three main things that you should remember from today's talk?
I think that mindfulness is energy begetting. It's easy. All you need to do is accept that you don't know. You don't have to feel bad about not knowing, because nobody knows. So everything is new, everything is potentially exciting.
Anything else?
So much else, but you get me started, I'll go through another hour.
So last thing is stress, because I think it was very, very interesting what you said about stress.
Yes, people need to understand that stress is mindless. Events don't cause stress. Events are neither positive, they're negative. It's how you understand them. If you understand them in a stressful way, you're going to experience stress. If you understand it as an advantage, you're going to see its advantage. If you understand it as neutral, it'll be neutral.
So we overcomplicate it.
Yeah, exactly. That because the world tells us these things are good, these things are bad, and so we kill ourselves to get the good things. We run like hell from the bad things. It's so much easier to recognize, each of these things in equal amounts is good, bad, and indifferent.
So do you think if we measure stress, and then people are very connected to their wearables, and they see whether, they look whether they are stressed or not, is it a good or bad thing? Or
it depends.
Is it programming us?
If they know a solution to it, so if, let's say, it shows a 10 and you want it to only show a 5, and somebody teaches you breathe twice, gulp twice, whatever, then it would be a good thing. If it's going to tell you you're stressed and you have no idea how to remove that stress, then it's going to make you more stressed.
Alan, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to have you with us and to contribute to this conference.
This has been my pleasure.
I hope to see you soon again. Thank you so much.